I am a temple who walks the earth. My womb is fertile for giving birth. I am a woman planted in truth. I grow my branches from sacred roots. You are the form of who you wanna be. So come untethered, your soul is free. We're here to heal, we're here to thrive. We are a dream who's come alive. We light a candle, our hearts awake. Illumination for God's sake. A revelation for God's sake. An evolution for God's sake. An inspiration for God's sake. 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 For God's sake.
And so it is. Hello, Essence. This is Jody, England, and you are listening to Wild Soul Medicine Radio. So here we are again in this continued discussion of soulful money medicine. And I have to just be transparent that so much is pouring through me right now. I've definitely been riding the dragon this morning. I seriously can hardly sit still because it's like my Kundalini energy is up and then downloads are flowing. And I called Viv a little bit ago and I was like, I need some help grounding in. There's some stuff happening. And she was like, oh Lord, let's find a way, you know? So anyway, I want to just be transparent about that. And I think it has to do with a lot of things. One of the things is that really this is my soul work. And, you know, I've avoided this particular piece about money for a while, as I mentioned last week, because I really didn't want to go down the path of, being a cheesy money coach and just all of that. And it's funny because I always say it's not about the money and it's not about the money. And so, you know, there was this insidious way that I was still making it not about the money, right? And that's not in alignment either. So here I am following what sources, I want to say requiring me to do because it feels like that. It does actually feel like a directive where I'm just showing up and, being in service of what's wanting to emerge. And I got to tell you, that's a really nice feeling place where, you know, it's not about me. I don't need to do this for the money. I don't, it's not something that came from my mind where I was trying to create something, but it really just feels like pure inspiration. And so, yeah, so that's where we are. And for those of you who haven't caught all the way up on the conversation or missed parts of it, the Soulful Money Medicine course begins today. It is a 6-week course, and we are using money as a portal to excavate and clear our essence so that we can be fully who we are in the world. And money is just then a reflection of that rather than some idol we put on the mantle to worship and hope that when we get it, it will make us something, you know? So the class starts today right after this class or right after this radio show. If you are not yet a part of the class and you'd like to be, there's still time to get in. It's soulfulmoneymedicine.com. And there's some details over there too, so you can read a little bit more about what it is. But really, it's an intuition decision, you know, like it's not about the words. And in fact, the more you have to be convinced about it, or the more we would tell you what you would get, the more we would be heading down the opposite of what this exploration really is about. And so the invitation is for you to feel into whether what's happening in your current money situation is in alignment with what you feel you know about yourself, you know? And if there's a disconnect between those two things, then this absolutely is a step for you. And the exchange is nominal for what it is. In fact, one of the other things I was showing Vivs this morning is the pages and pages of topics that are wanting to be shared. And so it will be so content rich and likely will be a stepping stone in some kind of a series of deeper and deeper explorations. But for now, the point of Soulful Money Medicine is to get you in this conversation where you can start to work the mechanics of your subconscious and the mechanics of your energy system so that you can be in flow rather than constantly stuck and disconnected and confused and frustrated about why things aren't working. So that's the gig. We do start today. There's a benefit to being in the live portion because we have a Facebook group, and I am already, some of the content is based on comments people have made, telling me where they are, what they'd like to know about. So for sure, sooner is always better than later, even for the fact of why would you want to suffer any longer, you know? So if you can make it happen, I highly recommend doing it now. And if you can't make it happen for some reason, we will leave enrollment open. I'd like to just leave it open and not press at all, but I can feel, because there's so much density around money, it's just easy to tell ourselves a story like, I'm going to come back to this later, or I just need to do XYZ before XYZ, right? And that's kind of the perpetual system that we find ourselves locked in. So my job is to shake you out of that and say, hey, there's a really important ship leaving the harbor, and if you are meant to be on it, now is the time. So with that, I felt into what would be in service of our collective today, and I can feel there's a fair amount of angst with people who are desiring to be part of this, who are wanting to shift their money experience, but have dug such a deep hole that they can't see their way out of it. So $277, which is, 1 month of payment for this program, feels so out of reach, and if you think about that, the women who listen to this program and who gravitate to this work are meant to be huge players in the transformation and the awakening of the planet. And so how will we wake others up? How will we hold a space of peace and clarity and abundance if we can't even exchange $250, right? And so this is why this conversation is coming forward. The energetics have been laid. The conversation cannot be put off any longer. And so as we're playing today, I am going to take callers. I want to coach you. I want to look at these unseen places and help you work out some kinks in your flow. I have no attachment to whether these readings are for people who are already in the class or who are, who can't make it to the class at the moment. Whatever, I trust divinity will line that all up perfectly. But before we dive into that, I want to just say a few things about exchange by way of, it's funny, I was talking to my husband about this. He's a hero soul medicine path. And so he said, when you talk about exchange, I don't always know what that means. I don't really understand it fully. And he said, I started to understand it more last week. And, it occurred to me that, depending on your level of wounding around this, exchange can seem like a foreign language. And actually, the friend that I mentioned several episodes ago that I went out of relationship with, it was largely because she did not understand the language of exchange, right? So different sides of the same coin. So my husband has a difficult time with exchange because he's so giving. And so what it looks like in his space is, I don't need to keep score. Why would I ask for anything back? Because I'm just doing, I'm just wanting to serve you, and I'm just wanting to support you. And really, I don't need anything from myself, right? And so, of course, on the light side of that paradigm is beautiful, so beautiful. And it's beautiful to be in relationship with someone like that. And then in the shadow, it's like, he is completely unwilling to take up space. And so that becomes a problem when, he wants to know what his purpose is, or when I want to be met with a full essence on the other side. So service is one thing. And then, where's the king? And I say that in so much love, not that he's doing anything wrong, but I want you to just see there are these sides of the coin, right? My friend that I went out of a relationship with, she's the other side of the coin. So for her, her difficulty with the language was, I'm going to sneeze. I'm trying not to. That she actually, she's so tied into universality that for her, there's this bypass. So this is a mystic. And what that looks like is, I'm so tied to oneness that, God provides everything, or the universe does everything. So even though I am exchanging with her in the way of like giving her a bunch of clients and hooking her up with a number of opportunities, what ends up happening is she receives all of that, but then is constantly siphoning for more, right? 1 second. I swallowed my sneeze. Okay, I'm back. And so the difficulty with that is that when I would say things like, I feel like there's always like a handout, or there's always a leveraging for more from my bank account. And she would say, well, I just don't have that language. I just believe that source provides all of that. And I don't have that lack mentality. And my perspective was, you're not exchanging with source, you're exchanging with me. So I'm a human and you're a human, and there's this thing that needs to happen between us, right? So source is moving through us, but then you need to exchange as your human, right, with my human. And so that's important. That's important. And because she wasn't able to understand that language of exchange and wasn't interested in it, she was more attached to her bypass of it, she decided to not be in relationship. And I think those are two really great examples of how we get this. Really, sometimes our soul path dictates this inability to speak a language of exchange. And so sometimes we're married more to the outgoing. So all of us great mothers are like, we understand the language of exchange, but we're attached to only giving energy out. So how we understand the language is, I'm going to give everything to you, and I'm probably not going to get anything back, right? Or I couldn't imagine taking anything for myself because you all need so much, So at least we understand this idea of exchange, even though we're not good at letting it come in. And then shapeshifters, what would shapeshifters look like? Their exchange gets very convoluted, right? So they tend to be open boundaries, like what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine, which can feel like an exchange. But the scary piece for a shapeshifter is similar to a heroine, which is, can I exchange as myself? So, can I put work out in the world that is just mine and be compensated or exchanged directly for that? So that's the scary piece for a shapeshifter, is being alone in the home of themselves and then offering that out into the world. And that doesn't mean they have to be entrepreneurs, right? In fact, often shapeshifters will do better in support type roles, but it's important for them to have an identity in and of themselves so that they're sustainable and they don't get depleted or end up giving more than they wanted to give, So, and then warriors, let's see, what would a warrior exchange look like? Warriors tend to just not like to exchange, period. So they don't like to give much out and they don't need much, is what their story would be. So they tend to be on lockdown. It can look a little stingy. It can look like arms crossed, what little bit I have, I earned, and you should earn yours. And you can hear a little bit of that in that dynamic with my friend who was the mystic, right? And there's there's some truth in all of these, and there's also some shadow in all of these. And so it's not about being wrong. It's not about being ashamed. It's about being conscious, about being aware of where am I in relationship to exchange with the world. And money just happens to be a great portal for us seeing this, right? Because as I've said so many times, our money is just a reflection of the way our essence exchanges with life, right? So like for my husband, the hero, he exchanges with life as, I don't need anything. I don't even need to be anyone. Who are you? I would like to support you being you. I'm a yes to that, you know, which is fantastic for me, but not so great for his essence, right? Which doesn't ever get any stage time. And so really, we're just using money as a way to see something about how our souls are or aren't set up for interacting and engaging with the world. And then from there, we can start to play with making these tweaks that will allow us to be more free and more full and more wholly here, you know? So, and there's every kind of insidious way this happens too, right? So there's the money game. And then on every other level, anything you can think of where there's energy out or energy in, these dynamics will be happening, you know? So if you tend to not be able to take up space, you're going to be doing it everywhere. You're going to be doing it in your work and in your relationships and in your money container and in your parenting, right? Like those will be your themes. So when we fix the money situation, we actually end up fixing a whole number of situations because one thing is everything. So I'm going to say a little bit more and then we're going to jump to callers. The call-in number, if you want to play with me that way, is 937-552-2747. Forgot to say that before. 937-552-2747. And well, if you missed the beginning, what I'm doing is I'm going to be doing some energy readings and healings for people around your money story, particularly around your exchange with life or with whatever area is present for you. So that's what you're calling in for. Okay. So what else do I want to say about... I do want to say one more piece. So there were many people who approached us saying, I love soulful money medicine. I want to be part of it. And I don't have money right now. And I won't have any for a while, or, you know, this is all happening first. And so I have to dig out of all of this. Right. And I just want to speak to this part of your soul that is really, really worn out from this struggle with abundance, you know, the struggle with this idea of money, because it is exhausting. Like we humans spend so much time on the topic of getting money, having money, keeping money, all of that. And particularly, I don't know if it's particularly hard for us, but in a way I think it is because, you know, we've done so much personal work and you know, we feel like we've given up a lot. You know, we've invested a lot of money in our personal growth with this deep knowing that somehow that's going to, quote, pay off. And then when it keeps not showing up in money, it's very confusing. And so, you know, you put yourself out there and you think, you know, this is going to be the thing. This is going to be the job. This will be the class that, you know, finally I get ahead, or this is the relationship where I will get resourced, whatever that looks like. And after doing that for so long and not having it come to fruition, not having abundance that lasts or that sustains you, our souls get tired. You know, they get tired and they're like, I can't do this anymore. I don't know what's out of alignment. I've tried everything, you know, and believe me, I know that story. And what I want to wake you up to is a reframe, a possible reframe for your system, which is, I've tried everything I knew to try, which in the scheme of things, if you aren't an energy reader or you're not an expert on the subconscious, is only about 4% of everything that's possible to try. Because 96% of what is creating the stuckness that you're experiencing is in your subconscious. And so that is really what we're playing at here. And so what I was noticing in these exchanges with people around their stuckness or their inability to get into the class was this very disempowered language, a claiming of what's so, a sticking in, this is what I've created, and like, really, I just can't afford this thing. And I mean, I had conversations like that. I did. And even when I was making a lot of money, I had several with my coach who I was paying, a lot of money per month to coach with. And then there would be months where I just wouldn't have it. And she'd be giving me the pep talk and I'd be saying like, but no, I really just don't have it. Right. And so in some ways there's that, but really what I want to call your soul forward into is it is time to get in the driver's seat. And so what that looks like is empowering your thought processes and your language such that you are saying a story that has possibility, that has movement. So instead of saying, I don't have the money right now, perhaps replacing that with, I'm gathering the money right now, right? Even more than I'm intending it or I'm manifesting it. But I'm gathering the money. And what that might look like is actually taking some money and putting it in a jar and creating a little altar and saying, this is for the education of my soul. And I am committed to the universe supporting me in that, right? And I'm committed to supporting myself in that. So maybe, your first money in is $1 or it's $25 or $50, but you're actively putting attention on what else am I exchanging with in my life? Am I in alignment with these other things? Do I want to pay my cable bill? Am I getting value out of that such that that money makes more sense than this money? And that's not a judgment or a leverage to come here, because it's not about what I'm going to get from you coming here. Because at this point, $500 is negligible for me. But it's what are you going to get from coming here? And what are you creating for yourself, whether you're here or not here, right? That is the wake-up call. And even outside of this one step, there's this larger context of this will not be the only course you'll ever take. So wouldn't it be cool if we could break this pattern from our collective where we work our ass off to get enough money to pay for a class. And then we take the class and we get a little bit, but not what we really needed. So then we got to work our ass off to save a lot more money to pay for the next class. But what if we just started future pacing ourselves and holding a bigger vision for ourselves so that it's about being resourced, right? It's about always being resourced and having the freedom to do anything you want to do whenever you want to do it. What if that is what your commitment is to? So it's way beyond, I'm going to save $50 so I can get into this class so I can save myself, right? But instead of that, it's like, I am committed to this path of freeing myself all the way so that I can exchange with life as fully who I am. All right. So if you intend to join us or not, the invitation is to start taking some actions, to start doing something different than you've typically done. And, that might look like working an extra shift or taking a weekend job or, having a, whatever it could look like. There's a million ways you could do that, but it's really up to you getting in alignment with all of ways that could happen and then making it so. All right. So with that, I have to say one more piece of that. So one of my students this week said something along the lines of, she was lamenting that she doesn't have the money to pay for the class that she wants to be in. And she said, I dream of a day when I have a life where I'm fully supported and abundant, right? And so my job as the bridge between the practical and the metaphysical is dreaming alone doesn't get you there. And this is the spiritual bypassing that is rampant in our community, where it's like, we go to, I don't have the money to do the thing I want, so it must not be time for me to do it. Or maybe I'm not supposed to do that thing. And what I want to say is the universe is waiting on you to get the fuck out of your way. That's what's happening. The universe wants you to have everything you want to have. It's not about universal timing. It's not about something you should or should not be doing. The universe wants for you what you want for yourself. even more so, right? And so if you want to shift your life, you have to stop waiting. And it truly is, you are the one you've been waiting for. You have to go inward. You have to do your work, which might mean for some of you taking action. For those of you action-driven people, it might be taking less action and allowing more spaciousness and freedom. It might be getting in conversation with the universe to see what's actually being desired. But for most of you, it's about getting present, getting here, taking a real look at your real checkbook and noticing what you're actually creating and making the connection about how that is really the amount of yourself that you are exchanging with life. So we're going to talk more about that in the class actually this afternoon, about this collective consciousness that we have where we've been hiding in our waking upness and in our shiningness, and now we're meeting this edge of it's time to actually go exchange with life. So we've been being it kind of behind closed doors and in our own little circles, and now it's like the curtain has opened, and how do we be this out there, you know? And of course, money then becomes the portal for that, because I'm going to have to do something in the world. I'll have to show up at a job, or I'll have to offer a program, or I'll have to say yes to a client paying me. And that is where it can start to get scary. So we're going to be doing some work on that in the Soulful Money Medicine class too. So for now, I would love to be in service of you, of us looking into these dark places and seeing, hey, I've done the 4% that I know. That's just assumed, by the way. Like, everybody who comes here is competent and capable and intelligent and has done so much work. And so we know that when you come, it's not because you're stupid or that you don't know what you should be doing. So everyone that I'm going to be playing with here is really, what we're looking at is what's underneath. What's the hidden thing that you haven't been able to see that we might be able to shed some light on. So if you want to play, 937-552-2747. And Viv, I'm ready when you are. And we'll cross our fingers. We haven't taken callers in a while, so hopefully all is well. And while we wait for this first caller, if you're new to this show, I just invite you to close your eyes. And as we do these clearings, they are for you too. You will have matches for sure. So just you can clear right along with the woman in the hot seat and let her medicine be your medicine. Okay, here we go. Hi, this is Jody. You're on the air. Who's this? Uh-oh. Let's see if I can hear you. Okay, I see you, but I cannot hear you. Let me do one more check here. Hold on.
Hi, Jody.
Okay. Are you there?
Oh, I'm here.
I can hear you now. Yay. Good. Welcome. So who is this?
This is Katie.
Hi, Katie. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Yeah. So tell me, darling, how are things with your energetic exchange?
Well, I'm calling today because I have something going on with a paycheck that has me feeling a little bit tangled, which is that I haven't gotten the paycheck from the church that I play the piano for the month of June. And here it is now getting into the second week of July.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of want to go bother the church secretary about writing that check. But I feel bad about going over there being sent to yell at her about something, because she is a family friend of more than 20 years and having some medical issues that have her not feeling well at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the other immediate option that comes to mind is to talk to her boss. But I can't do that either because that's the minister of the church who is presently on leave for 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Oh, I'm feeling kind of stuck.
Yeah, I get that. Great. So, and as I just read you here, I think that you're probably a heroine soul path also. I think you and I maybe have played together before on an episode. But yeah.
We talked on another radio show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have this sense as I'm looking into this energetic dance between you and this church paycheck. We'll just use that as the example. And what I see is you very politely, like kind of holding your hands against the front of you and, you know, afraid to make waves or to actually need anything or even request anything. So it looks like a really similar dynamic to what I was saying with my husband where, you know, like I'll take up as little space as possible and let me just serve you. I really don't need anything. You know, I want to just do what's right for you. And there's not really any room for what's right for you. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The situation, I don't always know how to ask for what I need because I'm inhabiting a position as the church musician where the previous organist was, you know, doing it as a hobby and always gave her paychecks back to the church. And I can't do that. This is my real job and I do need to make money from it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this is such a classic. This is such a classic setup for a heroine, right? Yeah, is like, you know, even on the heels of someone who donated her paycheck and like now you have to not be the one doing that. So gosh, what good medicine for you. So let's just drop in here and I'm just feeling into your, I want to just name this for all of these heroines that are in this container. I see you flashing before my eyes and I'm like, okay, are you all listening to this? For sure the heroines, right? And many others of us can relate to this where we're doing something that we would rather, you know, either be getting an exchange for or because we're not getting exchange, suddenly it's not fun. You know, there's every kind of permutation of that. So all right, sweetie. So I want you to feel into your energy system. And as you touch base with what would it be like if you showed up and not only did they hand you the paycheck they owe you, but they went ahead and advanced the next month to make up for the fact that they hadn't given it to you. So I'm going to just try that on and see what happens in your energy system when you imagine showing up and having that happen. All right, so just feel that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you notice when you imagine that?
I imagine a lot of surprise, probably some tears for receiving something unexpected.
Does it feel expanded in your system or contracted?
I feel sort of a two-way thing. Some level of expansion because having another month's paycheck would allow me to take care of a problem that's going on here. But I would also feel strange about taking money for a month's worth of work I had not done yet.
Yes. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. So that's what I was seeing too, is that actually there's that just enough mentality, you know, of like, I'd be okay getting what I'm owed, but I really have to earn every part and then take nothing more than that. So there's a very narrow exchange window, you know, if you think about it, it's almost like,
familiar.
Yeah, like walking a tightrope. So it's very tinctured. I give just this much and then I get this just much back. You know, which creates a lot of room for stuckness. Because if you didn't give what you thought you should have given and they didn't pay you when you thought and you know, then you're out of flow. Yeah, then you're out of flow. So I wonder, what if we could expand that highway, that energetic exchange highway? So to me, it feels like yours kind of comes out of you between your third and fourth chakra. So between your solar plexus and your heart space. And so let's just imagine that that's your energetic exchange highway.
Okay.
Yep. And just see if you can notice how wide or how narrow it is right now as it currently exists. All right, you got it?
Yep.
Okay.
I feel it.
Yep.
Kind of like a vulnerable sort of place that needs some guarding.
Yep. So I wonder, let's address the vulnerable place where it actually enters your body. And let's just see what we could do there. Like, I wonder if there might be some angels to guard those gates, or would there be some actual tending inside your energy system that would need to happen so that it feels healthy and gentle in there?
I like the idea of having angels there.
Okay, beautiful. You might just ask them if they'd be willing to make any adjustments that need to happen on the receiving end of that highway.
Okay.
There you go. Whew. That feels better. Did you feel that just get a lot wider?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Definitely an expanding.
Beautiful. Good. And so then let's imagine the road itself actually expanding as well. Just magically opening. Yeah, so it's actually, what I see is in right relationship, it would be even more wide out in front of you, right? Because there are so many ways that life wants to exchange with you. So instead of it being like a parallel sided road, it actually looks more like a flashlight beam from the center of you out.
Something kind of opening out.
Yeah, beautiful. Good. Good. And so with that orientation, let's imagine making it at a scale such that if we were to march your paycheck from church right down the center of it, that paycheck would look like a tiny grain of sand. Right? There you go. And then just imagine that paycheck coming down, coming in, making its way in. What does that feel like as it reaches you?
And I'm feeling a little sense of fulfillment there, but also a feeling that there is lots more that could come.
Yeah, right? Like before this, your whole attention was focused on, can I get that paycheck, right? And it becomes so big in our vision. And in reality, it is just a tiny speck of exchange, right? So when we free up that exchange and put our attention on the actual mechanism, there's something completely different possible, right? And so as we wrap this up, just imagine that this road you've created really is for all of the types of exchange that you could have with life. So it's love and freedom and people really appreciating your music and, every kind of fulfillment along with money and those things as well. Know what I mean?
Yeah, highway for lots of good things.
Say it again.
A highway for lots of good things.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Your angels just put that up on a road sign. The highway for lots of good things. Yeah. And remember, it's a two-way street, right? So I love having that as the marker, because then it's opening for you showing up as lots more good things. You know, not just a girl who works for her dad, and not just a girl who plays for her church, but like all of these other parts that are you too, you know? Beautiful. All right, sweetheart. Thank you so much for playing with us today. That feels like a beautiful opening.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jody.
My pleasure. All right. Bye for now.
Bye.
Great. Okay. So let's all just receive a breath on that one. And I really want to encourage you to put yourself in the hot seat here for a minute. You know, put yourself in the hot seat and imagine your own road. If you weren't already doing that exercise, you know, allow yourself to settle in with the matches you have. So one of the ways you can do this is you can just say, any matches I have to Katie and the highway of good things that goes out and in from the center of me, I clear whatever those matches are, right? And then I would put a bubble out in front and imagine a magnet in the bubble, and that the magnet can just pull out whatever matches. You don't have to know what they are. They're just energy. Most of them you didn't even know existed anyway. Imagine pulling those out of your space. Yep. And then as you fill your bubble, go ahead and take it and push it way out into the universe. And then imagine that you can allow a column of gold from above your head to just come down right through the center of your head and start to fill in any of the places that you opened up. Katie, you can actually, well, all of us, let's imagine the gold paving our street so that it becomes the yellow brick road, right? Yep, and let your whole system be graced with this feeling of wholeness and possibility. Yep. Beautiful. Okay, Viv, so I'm ready for the next caller whenever you are ready too. And then we'll just breathe into that as we give ourselves some space here. Okay. Hi, this is Jody. You're on the air. Who's this? And you may be muted on your end because I don't actually hear you right now. There you are.
Hello?
Now I can hear you. Hi.
Hi, this is Anastasia.
Hi, Anastasia. How are you?
I'm really excited to be on your radio show.
I'm so excited you're here. How fun.
I think so.
Absolutely. What a beautiful surprise. So tell me, darling, what would you like to look at with your exchange?
So I would like to do a complete overhaul of my exchange.
Okay, good. We've got 15 minutes. That'll probably work.
Yeah, complete overhaul. From the place of I want to be able to step forward more fully in my life and feel that what I offer is like to simply place everything into that energetic exchange container and remove the judgment that I have both been taught and then chose to embody as whether or not my skills have a right to ask for money as an exchange. So the capacity to hold space or listen or coach is something that I've done very naturally with a lot of people since I was quite young. And I was always taught that that's just what nice people do. And so there isn't really a value associated with it.
And especially since there's a lot of focus on professionalism in my family. So unless you've spent an exorbitant amount of money going through a very specific stream of education, then you get to ask for a lot of money if you're a doctor or lawyer or what have you. But if you have skill sets in energy or spiritual realms, or you could have both of them. It's not to say they're different or have to be mutually exclusive, but if where you are focused is energetically, emotionally supporting people and guiding them through their own processes, then really you just do that as a nice person. You don't do that as a business.
Got it. I see you. Yeah. So what I see for you is that actually this block is around owning your power, right? It's owning your particular flavor or brand of exchange with the world. And it looks like there's a fear of your own power, right? There's a fear of the healing and transformation you could provide. So you offer it without exchanging for money, because the money would actually require more of you to show up and more results would happen. And I think the results are what scare you. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. I mean, the very first thing that popped into my mind is just the results are what people in my life have been afraid of. When I used to do it as a young child, unintentionally, it would just sort of happen. It would pour out of me when I didn't yet have a filter quite firmly put in place. And so there was a lot of pushback or fear when I was just sort of fully letting things roll when I was a kid and didn't have that filter yet. And so then at a certain point in time, I just firmly established that filter. And it was like, don't ever go outside of this realm, or else you'll be left behind, you'll be hurt, you won't be accepted, whatever, 10,000 things I could say. But yeah, it's very much like you may only show up with this much of you, which feels like a very small portion of me.
Totally. Or you might hurt other people, right? If you were fully in your power and you messed up, and exchanging actually creates a certain amount of more responsibility on both ends, right? So it's one thing. I mean, this happens just on the radio show here. When I do it for free, people love it. Everyone loves it, right? And then when I offer a class and someone exchanges some money, then they start to think I owe them something. And then I sometimes start to think I owe them something, right? And then we have a whole different kind of interaction, because the exchange is where it gets bumpy with people, on both sides. So I would love to actually see if we could drop in and do some clearing around that power piece. How would that be for you?
I think that sounds lovely.
Okay, beautiful. Here we go then. All right, sweetheart. So just close your eyes and see if you can take a couple deep breaths. And again, there are so many women. All these faces are popping forward like, yes, darlings, this is for you too. So many of us on this great mother warrior soul path can relate to this power piece, which is why we spend so much energy fighting this system and fighting ourselves and fighting money, because what that does is keep us from being fully here, exchanging with all that we know and all that we see, because it is powerful. It is powerful. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to, it feels actually like it is a root chakra issue with you. It's another one of those ways that you kind of ride above the fray, like it's easier to get out and jump out if you're not all the way down and in. So it almost looks like your root chakra is, like a one of those triangle vases where at the bottom it's just like a really, like almost the width of one flower stem. That's what it looks like to me. So let's see if we could just drop down there and see what would need to happen. What would need to happen for us to widen this base?
I'm dropping down there and just with breath, like kind of like a paintbrush, going around one side and then completing a circle all the way around, like just slowly opening it out. It actually looks a lot like a birthing mother, like when their cervix expands to bring a baby into the world. Like really uncomfortable for me, but slowly opening.
Great. So let's imagine we could make that easier. Let's see if we could apply maybe like some golden muscle relaxer, you know, that could just let that cervix just like just relax. And there's going to be some natural contraction. So just follow that. Let the expansion and then some contraction. And then we'll just be gentle with it. Yeah, and then let's see if we could actually, because you're so separate. So like when I see you doing this work, it's like it's happening, but your legs are a separate entity away from it. Like, so your legs and pelvis are not actually connected to where this spaceship is landing, right? So see if you could imagine that the legs and pelvis could actually light up as well. And create almost like a landing pad that's somehow magnetic to this golden brass opening that you're making, so that that opening wants to land inside the pelvis. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Good. And then let's just do this. Let's imagine that in order to solidify this relationship and kind of seal the cracks where it's connecting, let's imagine that you can go around and add some forgiveness, right? So forgiveness for all the times when you didn't use your power wisely, when you didn't know your own power, when you did something that didn't, quote, turn out, right? All of those stories, just see if you can put some grace around and allow that to solidify those cracks. Beautiful. So what does that look and feel like to you now?
It looks like it's really strong and solid on the outside. Like my thighs are really strong and solid. But my inner thighs, my sacrum to my tailbone, is kind of this watery, moving experience, which in my brain I'm judging as weaker, but I think might just be balance. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I was seeing that too. There's actually there's kind of two layers. So let's take a look at that tailbone, because tailbone actually has to do with authority. And a lot of people see money as authority, right? So I get curious.
Well, it's definitely that in the family and friendship pool that I have lived my life in. If you have money, it doesn't matter what kind of job you have or what kind of person you have, you'll still get a certain measure of respect. Totally.
And the whole authority and the type of degree or the type of institution you're part of, you know, being part of the legitimacy, which your tailbone doesn't really love. It's not a fan of that.
No, not so much.
Mine either. Yeah. So let's go in and see that that swirly, tadpole-y sacrum. What needs to happen with that?
it's turning into a flower, like it's dropping, the tailbone is dropping down to turn into like a stem and then roots under the ground to open up into like my pelvic basin.
Beautiful. And then let's give a special kind of a release valve for all of that old story. So all of that programming, even like when you've run those people's energies through your system, it's like their residue is in there. So see if there's a way that you could maybe run some gold through there so that anything that's not you in that space can get out of there.
I love the little girl inside of me. She always shows up with like a fire hat on and a big hose to get rid of it.
She's like, we got work to do.
Get this crap out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she's super cute. Oh, I just got something. Okay, this is important. She can keep cleaning, and I'll just tell you a story. So I was noticing as I was having all these downloads this morning that there's a way that I can fire hose people with information, right? And I think that's been part of the power issue, right? What's been classified in that category for you is like, oh, I saw too much and then I gave it all to them and then they couldn't handle it and then poof, you know? And I was actually just talking to Viv about that this morning and I was like, I don't know what to do with all of this. And we didn't really get too far with it. But then once we got off the phone, I had this epiphany of, I haven't even told Viv this yet, but it's like part of that fire hosing is because that's energy out and the scarier thing is energy in, right? So if I give you a ton of information that you're still swimming in, I know I've done everything I could. I'm saying that in quotes. I'm doing everything I could. And if you don't get it, that's your problem, right? But the payoff in me is you don't get it, so I don't have to receive your shiny gratitude and love, right? I don't have to receive your affirmation of my ability, which would be like super scary, right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nothing of what you speak. I had a conversation with a friend maybe 24, 36 hours ago who was describing my ability to offer information. Mm-hmm. He said, you know, it's kind of like you see people who don't have roofs on their houses. And so you just drop the whole roof with the chimney with everything, like right down quickly. Yeah. And he goes, but their walls aren't strong. And so the whole house crumbles.
Yeah.
And he's like, you just see that it's starting to rain, so you're offering them a roof. And he's like, but they really just need an umbrella.
Yes.
And at the time, I was like, but I think the roof is an umbrella. That's like how it feels to me. I don't get it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And so now we're adding a deeper octave to that. So what's really behind that is I'm not safe if you don't have a roof, right? I can't be okay over here if you're going to let the rain come in and wash your house away. So let me drop a roof on you, right? But in reality, if you're resourced fully in you, if you're rooted all the way down and in, then you're going to feel safe. And so you're not going to need to do anything except for in essence, right? So this is deeply subconscious. Like I feel like I'm rooted in, but then I can notice like, oh, so much information and this and this and this. And it's like, okay, what if I was playing before the show, like what would need to happen for me to really show up with metabolizable amounts of information for these people in Soulful Money Medicine? And it was like, I would need to have an open heart, right? I would need to be vulnerable and dropped in and present, right? And so let's just add that to this tailbone as you finish this clearing, right? Like a sense of deep safety and rootedness in self. There you go. There you go. Mm-hmm. The lights just went on in Georgia. The power grid is on.
It was so good talking to you. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Thank you. That was a good clearing for me too. Thanks for being willing to show up.
Absolutely.
All right, darling. Yes, yes. A big, deep bow to you. All right.
Have a wonderful start to your program. I'm so blessed that I got to talk to you today. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Bye for now.
Bye.
Okay, so anyone with power issues, shiny bright lights of the new age, that one was for you. So as you see, what's possible when we start to get some tools for looking at this stuff in a different way. It's not what you think. It's never about what you think it's going to be about. Literally, it's not a mind thing. It is everywhere else in your system, and there's no way to get at it unless you start having this more soulful conversation with yourself. So I hope that you'll join us. If you need the address again, it's soulfulmoneymedicine.com. And if you're not joining us yet, the conversation continues over in the tribe, which is facebook.com/groups/wild soul medicine radio tribe. All right, loves. Next week, we will be having a conversation with one of my mentors and the woman who facilitated the making of my medicine drum, which I will be actually playing for the first time in a ceremony, the first time she's ever been played. So it's the ceremony for her to be played. Her name is Nuru. And I will be sharing her with you next week, along with the story of her creation and many, many other wise things that Andrea and I may play with. So I hope you will be back to join us then. And for those of you heading over to Soulful Money Medicine, just give me 3 or 4 minutes to get my computer up and switch stations, and then I'll be right there with you. All right. Until next time, bye for now.
We light a candle, our hearts awake. Illumination, for God's sake. A revelation, for God's sake. An inspiration, for God's sake. Illumination, for God's sake. For God's sake. For God's sake. For God's sake.